Hello everyone and welcome to episode 54, the first episode of my new house. So I have a new background. Unfortunately that means that I don't yet have my dice cam set up and my green screen and things because they're put away in boxes. So you'll have to just trust me on the dice rolls today. I promise you I will never fudge one of Apus's dice rolls. That is your dice rolls, and the dice will land as it lands. So, welcome along to episode 54. Where did we leave off in episode 53? Well, to cut a long story short, you shot an arrow at Charlie. You skewered the apple right off of his head, and thus started the hunt. Charlie ran for his life, casting Longstrider on himself. Then he got to the edge of the dome and escaped out into the surrounding maze that had been created by Lucifrique, the green dragon. Lucifrique told Zakar and Pakrish, his second and third right hand, to stay behind at the dome and watch over the treasures there, while you and Inola, his first right hand green dragonborn, went out on the hunt. Inola gave you back your bow and 3 of your arrows, 3 of your +1 manticore arrows. And you were led out into the maze. Lucifrique told you to split up, and split up you did. You went into different parts of the maze to hunt down Charlie. And through quite a lot of, after quite a lot of searching, a large rat came upon you, and unlike the green dragon rats, this one had a brownish, hard sort of what's the word? A bark-like texture to its skin. It spoke to you in Sylvan and announced that it was Charlie in wild shape, and he suggested that the ambush back at the dome should be underway. He set up before getting himself hunted, before deliberately punching Inola in the face to get himself hunted. He set up that in this distraction, while Lucifrique is out hunting Charlie, the people back at the dome can be hunting the guards and attacking Pakrish and Zakar. And so it was down to you two, while you're out, to take out the third and final dragonborn, Inola, who is out here with you somewhere. And then the rat ran off towards in the direction of the dead part of the forest, the part that is ruled over by undead, and thus not accessible to Lucifrique's living eyes and ears, his bird and rat spies. And so you followed the rat. You followed the rat and encountered Lucifrique, who said that he knows that Charlie has gone into the dead part of the forest. He's going to fly over to the other side of the dead part of the forest in case he just cuts through and tries to escape back out into the forest. And he wants you and Inola to team up and go into the dead part of the forest from this side to chase him and sort of smoke him out, as it were. So he teamed you up with Inola again, and then he sent the two of you off into the dead part of the forest while he himself went over to the other side. A little walk into the dead part of the forest, you managed to find tracks that Charlie was deliberately leaving for you, and tracking those, you found where he was hiding in a bush, and just as she kind of cottoned on to what was going on, she says, this better not be an ambush. If it is, you won't live to see the morning. And Charlie, revealing himself from nearby, stepped out and said, well, we better make it work then, and began to cast a spell. And as he began to cast a spell, you knocked an arrow and spun around to try and face her, and she drew out her, she got her pike up and ready to defend herself and attack you. And so we're going straight into initiative order. Bum bum bum. This is Tailspire, this program. It's a 3-dimensional tabletop simulator. It's pretty dope, pretty exciting stuff. So this is what you're seeing. As Apis, you're thought that this was the closest we can find in the default characters of Tailspire. It's a dwarf. She's clearly got boobs, but she's also got a beard. So she's got this sort of hermaphroditic or gender fluid or this ambiguous sort of gender to it, which I thought was as close as I could get to Apis right now. Then we've got a green dragonborn, Inola, following you along. She does not have a spell, but this is, beggars can't be choosers. And then over here, hiding in this bush somewhere, where are you? Hiding in this bush is Charlie, an elven man with a spell. So that's what we're seeing. This is the layout. And the dead things on the ground are indicative of the fact that you have a lot of undead in this particular part of the forest. So just to remind you, if you any sort of loud noises, loud spells, thunderous damage, anything that draws attention, screams and yells, any of that is likely to draw the attention of various different undead animals that are in this part of the forest, which could be to your benefit or detriment, depending on whom they go for, whom they attack. You are currently on 45 hit points. You have armor class 15. You do not have your inspiration reroll. You do not have your lucky horseshoe reroll. You do not have any of your level 2 spell slots. You only have one of your level 3 spell slots. And with that, let's roll you initiative. Alright, so here we go. On your initiative, you got a 3. You got a 3 plus your initiative modifier of 3 because you've got a +3 in dexterity. Takes you to an initiative of 6. Now I rolled ahead of time for your allies, your ally Charlie and the enemy, and both of them rolled a 7 on the dice, but Charlie has a higher dexterity modifier. So unfortunately for you, you'll be last in the initiative order, but fortunately for you, Charlie goes first. So, with that, Charlie being the one ready, kind of makes sense this way, that she was on edge, kind of expecting an ambush. You were facing away from her, so it takes you time to turn around and fire. So, it kind of makes sense that he was the one most ready. He's starting in a bush, and he says, when he hears her close enough and says, what did she say? You won't live till to see sunrise. And he says, well, we'll better make it work then. And he steps out, he casts a spell, and in the area behind you, you hear the ground cracking and rumbling, and suddenly there's like a thunderous, not thunderous, it's not super loud, but there is a definite earthquake feeling to the ground behind you. As he casts a spell, a 3rd level spell called Erupting Earth. And in the area behind her, in this area here, rocks. That one's a bit large, isn't it? Can I make it smaller? I forget how to do that. Is it Alt? No. Shift? No. I'm sure there's a way for me to make that thing smaller. That one's a bit too big. Ooh, gems. That's cool. All kinds of... Oh, damn, these are massive rocks. Let me try and find some that are smaller, bouldery pebbles. Oops, up on a tree. All of this ground in this 20-foot cube around her erupts out and causes her bludgeoning damage if she is going to fail her dexterity saving throw. All of this area here is difficult terrain, and she has to make a dexterity saving throw, which she fails, I believe. What's his DC? His DC would be 14. DC 14. I forgot to write that down. DC 14. She got a 12. So with that, she fails, and Erupting Earth, I think, is... I'm going to have to look it up, actually. I can't remember now. It was a little while since we played, so I've forgotten what his spells do. I think it's 3d12? 2d12? Erupting Earth, here we go. 3d12 bludgeoning damage. Holy moly. She's not going to enjoy that. Let me find some more d12s. One there, and one there. Alright. She failed her dexterity. It was dexterity, wasn't it? Yeah. Dexterity saving throw. not the worst, not the best. Right down the middle, I guess. So 3, 6, and 8 make 17. 17 points of bludgeoning damage to her, right to start off the fight. I'll write it down the bottom here, 17. And she's not starting exactly on full health because he's punched her in the face earlier today, and he did 2 points of damage to her from that. So she's taken 19 points of damage total so far. She's not yet looking wounded. Pop, and then bludgeoning damage. Alright, so the ground in the area becomes difficult terrain until cleared. Each 5-foot square portion requires at least a minute to clear by hand, so she ain't clearing that in the middle of this fight. We better start right then. And out all comes the rocks and the ground rumbling around her. It's not exactly a silent spell, so with everything that makes noise, there is a chance that it will draw the attention of surrounding things. Alright, so moving on, it is now Inola's turn. At the top of Inola's turn, I will just draw the giveaway. Batmerp. Batmerp, are you still in the chat? Yes, you're still there. Perfect. So have a think, Batmerp, about what you're going to do. You have one spell left. I don't remember, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you are concentrating on any spells right now. You're not concentrating on Zephyr or Hunter's Mark or Protection from Good and Evil or anything. So I don't think you're concentrating on anything. So you've got one spell. You've got 3 arrows. You don't have longsword, but you do have longbow. You do have planar warrior, and you've got 1 spell slot for Hunter's Mark. You don't have any of your second level spells left, so you can't do Misty Step or Pass Without Trace. Okay, back to the fight. Inola sees that this is in fact an ambush. She's bludgeoned around. She's thrown from off kilter by one rock coming up beneath her left foot, pushes her to the right, and then just as another pillar of rock comes up from the right and slams into her chest, she's knocked and almost drops her pike, and then she's going to step forwards. She's just more than 10 feet away from you. So she's going to step forwards to here. It takes her about 2 feet to move, so it takes her 4 feet of movement. But once she's within 10 feet, which she is now, she has reach because she's got a pike weapon. She is going to strike forwards with her pike against you. Actually, what's the distance between her and him? Because she is not very smart, but she's smart enough. So if she gets to here... Wait. Yeah, okay, so she can do it. She's going to use... So from there, she's going to use 5 feet, which takes her 10. And then she's going to go another 5 feet there, takes her 15 feet. She's going to come rushing right up behind you. And with her pike out, she's going to sort of drop it into one hand. And she's going to kind of reach forwards to sort of half grab at you to make sure that you're not moving, and right into your face, close enough that she can breathe past you and to him as well. She inhales and then she lets loose her 20-foot cone of poison. I'm going to have you make a Constitution saving throw, which is a 17 on the dice, plus your Constitution is going to be fine, so you're going to half the damage. And then for Charlie, 18. So you both actually succeed, so taking half damage, which is 10. She did max it out, so that is 5 points of poison to you because you succeeded your con save. You're resistant to poison, so it gets halved again, which takes it down to 2.5. I round up because that's how maths works. So you take 3 points of poison damage from her breathing directly into your face. So not bad at all, not bad at all. 3 points of poison damage. Charlie takes 5. 5 to him. With the newer editions of the Dragonborn models, the breath weapon actually gets to replace one attack. It's not your entire action. So she breathes into your face, and then she drives back. With this one, she kind of lets go of... she kind of grabbed you to steady herself and breathe past you. And then she lets go to drive back and use that momentum, that sort of twisting momentum, to drive the pike at you. She's going to try and hit you with a pike. More like morning breath than poison breath, yeah. Unfortunately, that's going to miss. Well, unfortunately for her anyway. That is going to miss with a 9 total. She strikes out at you with the pike. She is, however, a polearm master, so as she makes an attack with a polearm, she can then make a bonus action attack with the offhand. She strikes out at the with you with the pike, and because you're too close, you manage to easily drop the get inside of the attack, as it were. And then you kind of come towards her. She pushes past you, misses you with the speary pointed end of the pike. So she then brings it back and kind of twists her wrist as she brings it back to try and hit you with the other end of the pike, which is going to be a 15 to hit, which is exactly your armor class, so it just hits. She does 5 points of bludgeoning damage, and then that is all she can do. That's all she wrote. That was 2 attacks and a bonus action, and her movement, she's got a little bit more movement if she wants to take it. She is going to take it, yes. She's got 15 feet of movement left because of the having to move out of difficult terrain. She wants to keep you on... She wants to keep you both on the same side, doesn't she? She's going to... let's see, 5, 10, 15. Could she get half cover? Yeah. She's gonna step away from you, half cover. As she steps away, you can get an attack of opportunity. You only have your bow out, so you could hit her with a bow and it would be an unarmed strike. Just a general consensus in the chat. Do you want to use your reaction to take an attack of opportunity at her? It means you don't get a reaction for anything else, but I don't think Apis uses their reaction for anything really, so we good for taking that attack of opportunity? Yep, looks like it. Okay, so we're going to take an attack of opportunity with our bow. Oh, 17 plus stuff will hit. So it's an unarmed strike. It's not an unarmed, sorry. It's an improvised weapon strike as you sort of strike her with the butt of your bow. I'll just punch her in the face. But we'll go with the bow because then you get improvised weapon damage, which is 3 plus your... you can't planar warrior reaction rate. It's a bonus action, remember. Bonus action to use planar warrior. You have to charge it up before you then strike with it. Your strength is a +1 from memory, so that is 4 points of damage. Every little helps. Takes it to 23 total. You strike her. Wham. She is... Could we have shot with our bow? You can't shoot somebody for a reaction. A attack of opportunity can't be a ranged weapon attack. That's her. That's her entire turn. Okay. Then it is Apis's turn with Batmerp. Batmerp, what are we doing? Alright, Hunter's Marker, then move the maximum distance away without using dash where she won't have cover, and then shoot. Awesome. Good, well thought out, concise turn there, Batmerp. Let me make sure that everybody's on the battlefield here. So, with your last remaining spell slot, you turn round. You as she's running, it's sort of slow motion for you. Her footsteps landing on the various sort of almost dying. Because remember, the forest itself isn't dead. It's just that the creatures that live in the forest are undead. So she's putting her feet down on the mushrooms and the plant material, crunching of leaves. And you're predicting her footsteps, you're feeling the life that she is displacing by her presence. You're thinking about the temperature of the air and the wind over her scales and what that would be like. You're empathizing with her position so that you can mark that creature and mark that creature over any of the other creatures of the forest. It's actually, the Hunter's Mark comes remarkably easy to you in this moment because of the significant lack of bestial animal life form around. It makes it easier for you to target which particular beast, which particular creature you are marking. So you reach out your bow and pull up from the ground in the usual fashion, and the greenery from the forest attaches into her bare clawed feet into her person. You cast your last first level spell slot. You are concentrating. Everybody remember you are concentrating on Hunter's Mark, so if you take any damage from now on, you need to make concentration saves. Alright, and then you're going to use your full movement, which for you is 25 feet. You want to make sure she doesn't have cover. So you've said that you want to move as far away as possible. but doing so, you can come over this direction easily enough, because obviously it's open, but then she'll have even more cover from that direction. You can run over this way, but then because of all of this erupted earth, she'll still have cover, and you won't have enough space to get all the way around here. So the only way you can either get further away and she has cover, or you can get closer but she doesn't have cover. Which one do you prefer, Batmap? You can't get both, unfortunately, from your current position. Each one of these squares is 10 feet, so you can go 25 feet, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. You can get further away, but she has cover. Or you can go towards her here, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. You can get to like here. She won't have cover, but you'll only be like 15 feet away from her or so. Want to get the bow out of disadvantage range and then remove cover as the second priority. Okay, so disadvantage range is literally just next to her. As long as you're not next to her, then you don't have disadvantage to shoot. So in that case, it sounds like you want to go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. You get to about here. Turn you around to face her. You get to here, you have used your movement, you've used your bonus action, and then your action is to shoot. And from your movement, sort of chasing after her as she leaves, you hit her with the bow, you hunter's mark her as she goes, and then you set off after her, and you rush down. She rushes behind a tree to sort of have cover to her back, to sort of like make sure nobody can flank her. And she spins round, and as you spin round, you're sort of flanking around. You leap and take a shot with your arrow. You can't plane a warrior because you've hunter's marked, but if you hit with a longbow, then you'll at least get your hunter's mark damage as well. Awesome. Sounds good, sounds good, sounds good. Let's do it. Attack with a longbow is a +8. It was a 6 on the dice, taking it to a 14. 14 is not quite enough to hit. It just misses. The arrow comes in, and she has to really kind of bend back, and it hits into the tree beside her. It almost hit, but unfortunately not quite. That was your attack. You've got 2 attacks now that you're level 5 as a ranger. So you fire that one and land, and then knock your other arrow. You've now got only 2 arrows left. You fire off again. That one was a 13 on the dice, +8 takes you to a 21. 21 definitely hits. 21 is your D8 for your longbow. That's 4, so 7 points of. Oh, wait. The first one would have been a 14, but it would have been a 15 because you're using a +1 manticore arrow, and it's a +1 to the attack roll, not to the damage, because it's a masterwork. So the first one did hit. So as it's a manticore arrow, just as she was diving out of the way, it does stick into the tree, but it nicks the top of her shoulder as it hits. It cuts pretty badly into some kind of muscle and sinew of her shoulder. So I'll take this one for the first arrow, which would be... somebody remind me, I always forget. Is it... I am right in thinking that my +1 I said was a +1 to attack rolls, not to damage. Or was it the other way around? From memory, I'm pretty sure that my masterwork arrows that aren't magical +1s are +1 to attack rolls and not damage, because I think of them as being like the manticore arrowhead is better designed to pierce armor. I can't remember. I can never remember. Why can I never remember my own bloody rules about masterwork arrows? Better fletching would probably mean more accuracy. I'm gonna say that it's a +1 to your accuracy, not to your damage. I'm gonna make a note of reminding myself that. No, I'm gonna have that somewhere. +1 accuracy, because the way I'm thinking of it is it's a better designed arrow. So as GM Workshop says, it's got better fletching and it's got a harder or sharper tip, meaning it's better at hitting and piercing through armor and getting into you in the first place. But if the arrow's piercing into you anyway, it doesn't matter that it's sharper, and well, I suppose it might pierce you in a little deeper, but I think of it as like it's more likely to hit and cause the damage, but less, it won't do any more damage. Better fletching, I think, is a good way to think about it. Better arrow is better aim. Yeah, alright, so that makes sense. So the first one hit and did 7 points of piercing damage, and then a further 6 points of hunter's mark. God damn, 13 from that first arrow. Takes you to that, and then the second arrow also hit and did a minimum of that, so that's 4 points of 4 points of damage, and then 3 points of hunters, so 7 further points. God damn, she's looking wounded from those 2 strikes. Both arrows strike in. One hits her in the shoulder, and you see that the green, the green hunter's mark energy seeps up up her body into where the arrow strikes, and then seems to tear open that wound a little more, causing extra damage to her. And then, as she's reeling back from that, you quick fire, and the next one hits her in the right hip. It sticks out of her. She's got 1 arrow stuck into the tree behind her, 1 arrow sticking into her hip. And she's not looking well. She's bleeding. That's Apis' whole turn. Very good turn it was, Batmerp. Well done. The Hunter's Mark was a very good choice. Cool. That is everything you can do. It is now Charlie's turn. Charlie, let's have a look what you got. He's used that. He's used this. Has he got another? You've taken a bit of damage, but it's more important that he takes her out than heals you. Let's have a look at his druid spells. Oh, he has got hold person prepared. Oh yeah, hold person. That's definitely a smart idea. What's the range? 60 feet? He's definitely within 60 feet, isn't he? She was 20 feet away and then ran 30, so it ran 15. So yeah, she's definitely within 60 feet. So staying somewhat hidden in the bush from where he is. How does this work from a druid's perspective? Druid's perspective. How does a druid hold person? Seeps into her mind. Yeah, okay. He looks at the tree beside her, and he sees the beauty and majesty and power and stubbornness of the life form that is plant material that just stays its entire life, decades, sometimes centuries, in one spot. And he harnesses the same sort of paralyzed nature of these strong structures that make up the lungs of the planet. And then he imbues her with that, or he tries to imbue her with that same stationary nature. He is going to cast Hold Person on her. She makes a Wisdom saving throw. Oh, that's good. That's going to save, I think. What's his DC? Yeah, that saves. So he tries to make her stand still, and she seems to almost seize up. Her eyes go towards him, and then she breaks through it, and she gets her pike at the ready. That is his turn. Oh, actually, I've just remembered. What was you ran past here, didn't you? So what's the distance there? Yeah, it's less than 10 feet. So unfortunately, you ran within 10 feet of her to get past. This won't affect anything as a retcon, so I'm going to do it. As you ran into her melee range, because she has Polearm Master as a feat, because you enter her melee range, she can take an attack of opportunity when you enter, not just when you leave. In fact, you ran through, so you would have entered and left, and left. So she took a strike at you as she got to the tree before you hit her with your arrows. She took a strike at you. That's a 19, which for her is a crit. So she's going to do 10 points maxed. 10 points plus 3. Yeah, so 13 points plus a d10. 13 points plus a d10 is 9, and she got 9 on that as well. So 22 points of damage. Holy cow. 22 from 37 makes 15. You are looking wounded. This was after you cast Hunter's Mark. Oh shit, so it might have changed something. I'm going to roll a concentration save for you. So yeah, you did 9 points of damage from your Hunter's Mark. So if you drop concentration here, I'm going to give her 9 hit points back, because I forgot. 2. A 2, unfortunately, will drop your Hunter's Mark. Shit. I'm going to say no, you couldn't have skirted through the difficult terrain because you didn't know that she was a Polearm Master. That's the sort of thing that... So when I set up this whole sort of arc of the campaign, there were lots of things you could have read about. You could have done investigations and stuff and watching people and perception checks and things. If you had put effort into watching the guards, you could have learned that she was a polearm master, and you could have learned from that she can take attacks of opportunity a lot faster than other people and stuff like that. So there are things about how she fights that you could have learned before this fight, but you didn't. You did other things instead, which is fine because it means that you did whatever you did. You found extra ingredients for the potion makers, which has come into play, just not in a way that you've realised yet. So you didn't waste your time. You just did other things instead. But it does mean that you weren't aware of certain details about how she fights, and so you wouldn't have known to skirt out of her range. So you took the damage. I'm going to give her 9 hit points back. She's still looking wounded, but she's not quite as bad as we thought. She struck you really badly across the hip. You turned round and then fired 2 arrows at her. It hit her. So both of you are looking wounded, but Charlie is not. Charlie is doing okay. He used hold person, and unfortunately it failed. Then it's her turn, isn't it? So what's she going to do? You're looking wounded, so if she can take you down, she can then focus on Charlie. Yeah, it's always smarter. Is she smart? And she does have a second use of her breath weapon. But she's smart enough to know that you won't die to her breath weapon. You're real good with a bow and arrow. Does she run with the arrows so that you can't fire at her? She knows you've got one more arrow. Is that enough to kill her? In the moment, she got struck. She's going to go for Charlie. It wouldn't have changed Charlie's turn, no. Charlie knows that taking her down is more important than healing you right now. Because if he can take her down, if he could have hold personed on her, then it doesn't matter that you took a hit, because you can finish her off and then he can heal you. Yeah, it's right on the verge. There's kind of both. There's smart things to do in both directions, so I'm going to just roll for it. Odds, she goes for you. Evens, she goes. Odds, she goes for you. So she thinks about running over and attacking Charlie instead. It's a bit of a distance, and she knows that he made his save against her poison breath anyway before, so she's going to instead go to you. She moves to within 10 feet, actually. Free action. She reaches up and just snaps the arrow that's stuck into the tree behind her. And then that's a object interact. And then she steps forwards and attacks you with her pike. 14 plus 5 is a 19 to hit, so that's going to hit. That's a minimum though. That's 4 points on the 4 points of damage. Takes you down to 11. And then her second pike. That's going to miss with an 8 total. And then she gets an offhand attack. She strikes through once and cuts across the sort of hip area of you. And then she pulls back and strikes again, but her movements are getting a little slow. You can tell that she's in a lot of pain. So she misses you with that, and then her offhand attack comes in, and that one will hit with a 15 just. So 15 is... and then maxed that one's a 7. So 7 from 11 takes you to 4 hit points. Holy cow. Apis is down to 4 hit points. She goes strike once, strike twice, offhand attack. She's trying her best. Rob, it's dark, she can't see properly. It's dim light here, not darkness. It's not pitch black, so she can still see. She just has disadvantage on perception checks. Yes, so she was stumbling around because she has disadvantage on perception checks. In 5th edition D&D, I don't know if it was different in earlier editions, there is no disadvantage on attacking when you're attacking in dim light. You can still attack fine. Especially in melee, obviously. She's not having to. She's like up against you, so she's in dim light. She's got disadvantage to notice details around her, notice the ambush and shit, but she doesn't have any disadvantage on attacks. If it was darkness, like inside the dome, where the other two Dragonborn were fighting, then yes, she would have disadvantage because she'd have the effect of blinded. She'd have the blinded condition. But out here in the moonlight, starlights and stuff, it is nighttime, but it is dim light. All right. Strikes twice, strikes thrice. That is her entire turn, though. Apis, who's it gonna be? Sparrow, fly away. Sparrow, kill her. Get the finishing blow. You got this. She's looking wounded. You know she has at least 9 hit points. You can do this. You've got you don't have Hunter's Mark on her, but you do have 1 arrow. You've got Planar Warrior that you can do. You've got 2 attacks, so you could attack with the Planar Warrior arrow, and then you could attack with with your fist. Just run in and punch her, do unarmed strikes, or you could do a grapple with your second attack. Whatever you want. Oh, and she stepped forward, struck you with her pike, and then she stepped back behind the cover of this tree to get away from what's his chops. To try and put some cover between her and whatever. All right, you got this, Sparrow. She's wounded. Finish her. Finish her. And besides, Sparrow, if you don't finish her, you've got Charlie's turn between you and her turn. So hopefully he'll be able to finish what you don't. You don't get an attack of opportunity because she didn't leave your melee range. With her having a reach weapon, she never entered your melee range in the first place. She got to 10 feet away. She can reach you. You can't reach her. And then she steps away, and you don't get an attack of opportunity because she was never in your melee range to begin with. Alright, Planar Warrior bonus action. Sparrow, you are bleeding out. You are feeling the fear, feeling the adrenaline, feeling the fight for your life, literally to the point where you might die if you don't play your cards right. As such, this adrenaline, this tingling nature down your body, this pins and needles that you often feel when you're in danger, or feeling like raw emotions, it's very easy to tap into. You don't even have to think about it. You bring up the bow, you knock your last of 3 arrows, and you point it to her as she steps back towards the tree. You take good careful aim, and the arrow strikes forwards. Let's roll and see what it hits. You've got a +8. I will tell you her arm class is 15. With your +1 to attack on your arrows, you've got a +9. So she's got an armor class of 15. You need a 6 or more to hit. So there is a 75% chance of striking. 75%. Here we go. You see I'm not touching. I'm going to grab my camera here real quick. I've been using these dice. Can you see what it is? It was this one. I don't know if it's focused. Can you see that? There's an ampersand on top. You know what the ampersand means? It's a critical hit, motherfuckers. That's a critical hit. Net 20! If ever there was one needed, eh? So as this arrow, the last arrow that you've been given, strikes through in the air, as it passes the bow, it shifts into the ethereal plane. It strikes forward. You see the terror in her eyes, just like as she sees that the arrow seems to disappear. She doesn't see where it's gone. It disappears, and then it reappears right as it's entered through the ethereal part. So the arrow enters the ethereal plane. As the ethereal arrow passes into the same location as the material plane version of her head, it then reappears in the material plane, displacing parts of her head and skull and brain as it cracks right through her eye socket and out the back into the tree. It seems to stick and rail her head to the tree, and she slumps down immediately. The pike drops to the ground, and she just hangs loose off of this arrow. And Inola is no more. With a planar warrior and a crit, it is not necessary to even roll the damage on that. She had about 10 hit points left. You literally got her down to 1 hit point before. So, you you walk over to her. Let's see. That act did not cause a lot of noise, but it did cause some noise. Okay, and then the striking out before, the attacks from before. You're doing well so far. You're lucky. How much attention would that attack have drawn before? Cool. All right, you are. Well, not that you know it, but you I suppose you kind of know it. You know that you've been fighting rather quietly. So you walk over to her. You see that the arrow fletching that has exploded her head is kind of fucked. Like, it's inside of her skull, and the fletching is going to definitely need some work before you can fire it well again. This is definitely no longer a +1 arrow, but you sort of pull her off of the arrow and slump her down to the ground. Then you step over and try and pick up the two arrows. One sort of embedded in her hip, and the other embedded in the tree. I'm going to have you roll. It's going to be a strength-based sleight of hand check to see if you can carefully manipulate these arrows to come out of what they're respectively stuck into without breaking them. Strength-based sleight of hand check. You are not proficient in sleight of hand, I don't believe. Let's head back to the main page now that we're out of combat. No, you are not proficient in sleight of hand, so it's just a +1 to this roll. And you got a nat 1. So the one in the tree that was already kind of shredded from sticking through her skull and viscera, you try and bring it out, and the arrowhead just stays deep within the tree, and you snap off the shaft. So unfortunately, that's not working. But the one in her hip is a slightly lower DC. Still not good enough though. You got an 8 total. Actually, forest bonus, because this one's stuck into, this one you'd probably be okay with. An 8 is probably just sufficient. You pull the arrow out of her, and it breaks away some more viscera and guts, but you've got one of your arrows back. You've got 2 arrow shafts and one arrow, one working arrow. What do you guys want to do now? You're out of combat. Can we ask Charlie if he can make plants and stuff grow through her and in the hole, so it looks like he killed her single-handedly? That's a very good idea. Very clever indeed, Batmerp. You get Charlie over, and you tell him shh, and he's all excited, like, is she dead? Is she finally? And he like sets a final thorn whip kind of cantrip on her to kind of like make sure that she's actually dead. The thorn whip wraps around her throat, and he pulls, and the thorns tighten into her throat. There's no reaction from her, and when he pulls with the thorn whip, it kind of like pulls her up and tips her onto her side, and that's when it reveals like the fact that her head's kind of exploded, and he goes, "Oh yeah, she's dead." We then say to him, "Listen, I'm going to take what she's got on her, but then you need to make it look like you've killed her single-handedly. I can't be involved in her death." And absolutely, yes, good idea. And you take off her bag. She had a satchel bag on her with arrows in it, and that's the ones she grabbed for you. She takes off. You take her satchel bag, and as you look into it, you can see that there are 2 other masks in there that are made from half-dragon creatures, skull masks that are the front half of a half-dragon creature. In terms of your arrows, let's have a little number of them. How many did you have when you were captured? It was 21, I believe. Was that right? Somewhere around that number. And now you've just broken 2 of them, but 21. You probably have about 19 of them, I think. Was it 20? We'll say 18. We can always retcon it later. Because you have picked up the bundle of arrows that was in her her pouch on her person, you've managed to retrieve a bunch of your arrows. You then pick up the pike and sort of throw it to the side to make sure that's something you're going to remember to take as well. You've got her pike, you've got your arrows back, you've got a couple of dragon skulls, and you've got a bag. You then see Charlie is starting to do some various different plant-based cantrips to try and sort of decompose her body sooner, and the thorn whips are coming up and around her and causing huge damage to her head. All sorts of stuff. We need to watch out if Lucy Freak sees us with more than 3 arrows. We have a problem. That's a good point. That is a good point, Pockfin. So Apis gets the Inola's bag and the arrows, but then one of the synapses fires to remind you that if you are seen with Inola's bag and arrows, this could be a problem for you. So what do you guys want to do as a collective here? Do you want to just take 3 arrows and hide the rest somewhere that you can access them, or what? You can take her bag and hide it somewhere. Do you want to try and take her body out of the undead area for Lucifreak and leave the stuff in her bag on her as we drag her body back to Lucifreak? Could do, yeah. Let's talk to Charlie about what the rest of his plan is. Good idea. So you take a moment to sort of catch your breath. You are heavily wounded. Once Charlie's finished doing his thing, like making it look like he's the one killed her, he's put lots of like scratches over her face. He's trying his best to disguise the fact that she was killed with an arrow through the face, which of course he does not have. So he's trying to make it look like there's just like a lot more wounds around the face, so that it's harder for Lucifreak to tell that she was killed with an arrow. And then once he's done, he kind of looks up and sees that you're still heavily bleeding from all of your wounds from the sides and stuff, and he's going to use his last 3rd level spell slot on a Cure Wounds. 1, 2, 3 of those. Oh, nice! He got 2 8s and a 6, so that's 22 plus his wisdom of 3, 25 hit points. Holy shit, Charlie. Let's keep you around. 20, what did I say? 22, 25. 25 hit points, and you're on 4, so you're on 29 hit points now. I'll make a note here. 29 hit points. And your maximum is 56, so you're no longer looking wounded. He walks over to you, and as he walks, he reaches down, grabs some dirt from the ground, and he starts to sort of spread it between his hands as if he's kind of like a surgeon washing up for surgery. And he gets his hands all mucky and dirty, and then you see all of the different particles of dirt on his hand seems to like glow. And he walks forwards and just grabs you by the hip, and all of that wound that's on that was from that critical pike attack seems to. There's a bit of pain involved, but you can see that it's a good sort of pain, like a deep massage. As the muscles are starting to knit back together, all of the blood vessels are fixing themselves, and your skin is eventually knitted back together as well. You're still obviously exhausted from the fight, meaning that you're not at full hit points. You've still lost some of your stamina, as it were, but you're not physically wounded anymore. He's healed you. You've disguised the fact that you killed her. Now back to the question of what to do about the body and the arrows and the bag. What do you guys think? I think it's best to head back to the dome rather than leave with Charlie, so we can see what happened and also be an inside agent. Oh yeah, we're going to ask Charlie about things. That's right. You take a moment to get a breather and ask Charlie what was the rest of the plan. Can you fill me in what's happening? And he says there's the plan as I'd had it was that I was going to lure Inola and Pakrish out onto this hunt, and then I was going to attack them one at a time. I was going to try and pick them off. Meanwhile, Zakar, who was usually the one left behind on these hunts, was going to be attacked by the others. I am hopeful that they've managed to be successful. I was not anticipating them leaving behind Pakrish and Zakar. I know that many of the captives were reluctant to attack, even when it was only Zakar. So for them to attack Pakrish and Zakar is quite an ask for them. However, they know that I will be attacking one of them, so I hope that that's enough to persuade them. The plan is underway. That there are everyone had something to offer. I feel like I feel like they will still attack. If one of them starts, the rest will feel they are accomplished. They are they're accomplices to the effect anyway, and will probably feel compelled to at least fight for the winning side. I can only hope. I know that there are, we should probably get back to the dome when possible. Do you know where the dragon is? And you say he told us to follow you into the dead part of the forest, and he was going to go around to the other side to see if we could drive you through, sort of smoke you out, drive you all the way through to the other side, and he was going to get you then. Right, well that might save us some time if he's on the other side of this undead area. Speaking of which, you said there were undead around and we should be careful, and you say yes, I don't see any right now, but I think we managed to kill her quickly enough that she won't be seen. I don't know if we should just leave her here or whether we should take her and show her that you've killed her or something. Show Lucifer that you've killed her. I don't know. Do we have our own bag as well? We have our own bag full of all of this crap. We can put our arrows into our bag and hope that we don't get searched. Can we do an insight check on Charlie? 19 plus your insight of 2, that's a 21. There is nothing sus about the way that Charlie's acting. He is acting as a man he's under a lot of stress and duress and adrenaline pumping at the moment. He's just coming down from the high of having taken out one of his biggest threats, but he's also aware that you guys are far from out of the forest, out of the woods yet. He is acting intelligently. He's not the most book smart, but he's very wise, and so he's trying to think fast and improvise on the fly as to his plan was not to have you and Inola both out here and two guards back at the village. He was thinking that you would have been left back at the village to help kill Zakar, and Pakrish would be out here for him to kill. So he's having to improvise. He's under a lot of duress, but he doesn't seem to be acting suspiciously. I don't think Lucifreak's going to be in the state of mind to search us after he gets back and sees his henchman dead. Let's just take the arrows. Alright, so thumbs up in the chat. There's an emote for thumbs up. Even if you're not subscribed to the channel, you can get them as a follower. You can just hit the follow and get access to the thumbs up. So thumbs up in the chat if you want to take all of the arrows and just keep them in your bag and hope you're not searched. Thumbs down if you just want to take 3 of the arrows and do something else with the others. So it's mostly saying yes, but there are enough dissenting voices that I will put it to a poll. Take all the arrows, yes or no. If we get, there's a lot of shit going down, and if Lucifreak has any reason to believe that you were involved, he might check your person. He might search you. If he does, then he finds out you've definitely been involved. But obviously if he's got other shit on his mind that he doesn't think to search you. Alright, 73% of Apis decides yes, you're going to take all of the arrows. So you have the rest of the bundle that she had in her pouch, in your pouch now. You've put it inside your bag so that they're only visible if you get searched. You have 18 arrows on you. Now the question is what to do with her body. Are you going to leave it here so that Lucifreak never knows what happened to her, because he's unlikely to come into this part of the dead forest, or do you drag her along and pretend like Charlie fought? What's the idea? What's your plan? Does she have anything else on her? She had her pike. She had her bag. That's it. She has her armor as well, but it's not designed for you. You wouldn't be able to wear it. Does Charlie have gentle repose? He does not. Let Charlie take the bag and the pike. Leave her body to be turned by the necromancer. Does anybody have speak with dead? Not that you're aware of. I don't want her to leave her for the necromancer. I hope she won't come back undead if we leave her here. Can we teleport her into the Feywild or play jump? Not yet. We're not that powerful yet. PsyQ. We could drag her body to the plane of air. The portal that we know is not exactly close by. It's a few miles away. But you could drag her through the forest and throw her into the plane of air. It's not the wisest decision, but it's an option. You've searched the bag, Millsy. All she had in it was two skulls, two dragonborn skulls, half dragon skulls from like what seems to be a rat and some kind of rodenty looking thing that is not a rat, maybe like a giant squirrel or something. And then your arrows. That's all she had in the bag. We could burn her body. Lots of options. Leave her here, drag her back, burn her. What are the other options? Can we set fire to this part of the forest to burn her body and distract Lucifreak? That is a good point as well. We could do that. Alright. We can make a lot of noise and then run. That's a good point as well. The undead would be drawn to this area, and Lucifreak would probably be drawn here as well if he's watching or listening or aware of any movement and things. I'm trying to get like up to 5 options from you so that I can put it into a poll as to what to do. Burn it. Leave it here. Attract undead. Leave it here and attract undead. I'll just leave it here. 2 options. And then take it to the dome. Or drag it into the forest. There you go, look, with 41% saying burn it, 41% saying attract undead. I'm going to put it down to a second poll between those two, just to see if the leave it here people want to vote one way or the other. 72% of the vote this time saying burn her. So, Apis decides there's lots of, do we take her back to the, do we leave it here, attract noise, what do we do? And then you decide, Charlie, can you burn her? And Charlie says, I can, yes. I think you should burn her. Okay. It will hide the damage done to her. Yeah, I think that's for the. I'm trying to come up with a plan. I'm forced to improvise here, but I'm thinking. I will say that you ambushed us. You got the drop on us. Then you set fire to her, and I was forced to flee to escape with my life. I am pretty knackered, so it'll be believable, I think. And it'll be more believable if this part of the forest is on fire. He instantly kind of balks at the idea of setting a forest on fire, given that he's a druid. But he thinks about it and thinks about the life around him being, the semblance of life around him being the unnatural undead. So he knows that no animals will die in the forest fire. He'll lose a lot of plants, but plants often die in forest fires. It's a natural sort of cycle of life, burning them off, controlled. It takes a little convincing, but he thinks it's for the best in the moment. So he grabs her body and he pulls it up against the tree. And then he turns his hand over, and as he does so, it's sort of like, it becomes like this glowing red heat to his palm. And you can see the air around it starting to wave with the heat until just spontaneously with the heat he conjures fire in his hand and he throws it towards her. It hits her in the body and immediately starts to catch against her organic scale mail that seemed to be dragon hide scale. It starts to smolder and burn at that. It's not like flammable per se. It's an organic material. So it takes a couple of him doing this. Hits her in the chest, hits her in the lower body, and then he hits one at the ground beside her, and that catches very quickly on the leaves and things there. First time we'd committed murder, like premeditated. We're not used to what to do to hide a body. That's a good point. Yeah. Is this the first? No, this isn't the first time you've committed murder. I suppose, like premeditated murder. Yeah, because I was thinking you killed Thunderbolt, who was one of the bandits that was working for the Manticore. He was a humanoid. I think he was the first human that Apis has ever killed. Before long, the fire starts to catch, and you realise that this is going to be enough. He leaves her sitting at the base of this flaming tree. And what's your plan from here? Are you and Charlie going your separate ways now? Are you going to sort of thank him for his help and then just hope that he escapes and you go back to the dome, or You don't have 4 HP, you have 29 HP. He cast a 3rd level Cure Wounds on you. We say, so what's your plan now? And he says, I could leave. I could survive on my own, but I don't feel comfortable running when there's others that need help. I'm getting a little tired. I could do to rest. Not here, obviously. We need to move because this fire will attract creatures very quickly. There's the snapping and crackling of wood heating and then breaking. It's definitely starting to make noise and light. Obviously, it's very, very soon will attract the attention of the undead. So you do need to be leaving in the immediate, and then come up with a plan after that. Fake prisoner ploy, also an option. Yeah, you could say that Charlie killed her, but you managed to escape. You managed to overcome him, take him out. Does Charlie need a rest to regain his wild shapes? You say as you walk and talk, you move through the forest. You walk and talk, and you ask him like, "How spent are you? Are you doing okay? Do you need to rest?" And he says, "I could do to rest, but I feel like I've got a little fight in me. I can still shift, I believe." He's got one more wild shape before he needs to rest again. All right, so back to just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Back to the dome, yes or no? As yourself, just talking about Apis at the moment, regardless of whether Charlie comes with us. Is Apis going back to the dome? Yes or no? Yes. Most people saying yes. I think Apis is going back to the dome. The next question will be: Is Charlie coming with us back to the dome? Either directly with us or following us behind or anything. This includes prisoner ploys. This includes pretending. This includes him wild shaping. Does Apis want him to come? Obviously, Charlie's his own man and can do what he wants. But does Apis suggest that Charlie comes back with them? Interesting. Kind of split on this one. Let me put this one to a poll because it's not a consensus. Yes, Apis suggests Charlie comes as a prisoner in inverted commas. Yes, Apis suggests that Charlie wild ships into something small like a bug and comes with. Yes, Apis suggests that Charlie should follow behind, like come back to the dome, but far enough back that I can have plausible deniability that you are there. Or no, Apis doesn't suggest that Charlie comes at all. So with 64% of the vote, Apis decides not to suggest that Charlie comes back to the dome. So Charlie is walking and talking with you, needs a bit of a sit down, needs a bit of a rest, is quite clearly worried about whether or not the plan at the dome has gone ahead. Do you tell him? Do you tell Charlie that you asked some divination dice and the dice said that it's fine? You have no power here. We did tell him already. I can't remember. We already told him. Okay, thank you, Wraith. Okay, so he knows. He's like, okay. In that case, his concern is not whether or not it went ahead; it's whether or not your dice are telling the truth. He's not familiar with divination. It's very much not in the wheelhouse of his particular area of study as a druid. And he's not familiar with artifacts and items like that, and so he's concerned on the verification of whether or not it's going ahead. He's also concerned that you're both very knackered now. Everything's spent. I think I'm safer. I should come back. We can't take him on our own, even if the Dragonborns are dead. Me being there is there's just too much. I feel like if I come back to the dome with you, it's too risky. I would be putting people at risk for my presence, more so than I'd be able to offer right now. I'm spent until I've rested. I'm too exhausted. I don't have any of my. I can't access my most powerful spells. I'm just spent. I think if I think I'd be better finding the reinforcements and getting them this way. Can you manage on your own? He says to you, and you say, "Yeah, I can manage till sun up. I'm sure. Just get them here as soon as possible." says, "Hey, I will," and he gives you one of these, and then heads off into the forest. And now that you're getting closer to where the animals are going to be starting to live again, you can hear the crackling of wood and the of a flaming tree losing its structural integrity and falling. It makes a lot of noise, and you can hear that there are stirring animals, undead animals in the area that are coming your way. There's also a couple of birds take off from the tree, maybe a few hundred yards away, so it's a good sign that there's that you're starting to get towards the sign of birds. He shifts his body down. What's he got? How long does backskin last? I wonder if he's still got that. It's not important, but for the sake of my my description, does he have backskin already or not? It lasts for 1 hour. Concentration. It's a second level spell. He's got a second level spell left. He uses his second level spell before he shifts vocal, somatic, and material. A handful of oak bark. He grabs some of the. In fact, he's snapped off some mistletoe twigs or something. He's got druidic focus by now. He uses his. Let's see. Yeah, he gives you one of these and says, "Good luck to you. I'll be back as soon as I can." And then he runs his hand down a tree, down the back of a nearby tree, and as he does, it kind of like seems to curl up behind his hand and follow it down the tree, and the bark seems to blend into his skin all the way down his forearm and up into his neck. He's got like these almost it's almost draconic like in this scaly kind of nature, but it's this brown bark like texture to his skin. And right after he does this, his body shifts forward, his neck and spine elongate, and his legs go a lot longer. And before long, there is a Charlie horse standing in front of you, with this same sort of bark-like texture all over its body. And then he sets off in a gallop in the direction of Fondurg. And Charlie leaves you alone in the forest, heading off at great speed. You are a little while from the dome, and there are undead creatures coming your way. I will have you. Well, you guys need to tell me actually how you're going about getting back to the dome without being encountered by undead creatures on the way. Are you doing so at speed, like you're just running, you're sprinting, in which case it's an athletics check? Are you doing so quietly and trying to maneuver your way around, in which case it's a stealth check? Are you trying to, I don't know, climb a tree and wait for them to pass? What are you doing to get back to the dome without encountering undead on your way? All right, we will put this to a poll because we're kind of tied between stealth and running. What time in game is it right now? It is late. It is probably like 10 or 11 p.m. I'd say, probably like 11. I can't remember exactly, but somewhere around 11 p.m. give or take. Will the way to the dome lead us past Lucifreak? No. So think about it as, let me put it in perspective for you, because you guys went west. So you can think dome is here. You went west, north-ish west. You went north-ish west. Undead forest started about here. You went into the undead forest and fought with Inola here. And before going into the undead forest, Lucifreak flew up and over and went onto the other side of the undead forest to wait for Charlie to. He was running away from the dome, and Lucifreak was thinking if he manages to make it all the way through the undead forest without getting killed, he's going to come out over here. And so Lucifreak went over there to cut him off at the pass, as it were. So you've fought Inola and you're coming back towards the dome now. And Lucifreak is over here, hopefully. Unless he told you he was going to the other side and then polymorphed and watched or whatever. But, he's not a tricky dragon that would do something like that. So how are we going to avoid them? The options are run, stealth, hide, listen and watch, or fight. 73% of you vote to use your stealth to try and avoid the undead on the way. So I'm going to roll perception checks for the undead then. And then I'm going to roll a stealth check for you. Stealth. You are in a forest, and you are using your forest. You're using the forest to your Stop metagaming for us. I'm just reminding people who have not necessarily been here for the previous times what Apis knows. It's not metagaming because I'm specifically telling you the things that Apis knows. It's very much in-gaming. Apis is in a forest and using it to their advantage, meaning that they get the forest bonus in my games. Dexterity is a +3. Your skill, you are proficient in it, so you get another +3. Then you get your forest bonus of +3, I'm pretty sure. You get forest bonuses, you get to double your proficiency with rolls related to it. So you've got a +9 to this roll. +9 on your stealth check. Let's have a look. 14. 14 plus 9 is 23. I rolled 4 different perception checks for the undead creatures that are coming your way. 3 of them were a 4 or less. And the last one was a 14. 14 is not 23. So you managed to avoid all of the undead that pass you. Stealthing your way through the forest, slowly moving your way. Because you're proficient in forest terrain, you are a ranger that has spent most of your life living in the forest and hunting things, sneaking up on things. You're proficient in using the forest to hide your path, hide your transit through it. You are familiar with which twigs will probably bend out of your way and which ones will break, which leaves and flax will make loud crackly sort of rustling noises when you brush past them, and which ones will kind of just move out of your way. And so you manage to avoid certain noisy areas of the forest. You do see an undead creature at one point. Undead fox, it seems like, sort of moves in the direction of the forest fire, but the loud crackling behind you is a lot louder than your footsteps. So you hide for a second as it passes, and then continue on your journey. It doesn't take very long for you to make it back to the living part of the forest. You are aware, as Apis, you are very much aware from your time spent out foraging now around the dome. You are very much aware of the fact that you, at this point onwards, will be watched. You are, whenever you're in sight of birds, insects, bugs, rodents, anything basically, you will be watched. So if you are going to be doing any sort of deception as to running away from Charlie, it needs to be done now, otherwise the bugs and insects, and I keep saying bugs and insects, they will all be able to tell Lucifreak of your actual behaviour out in the forest. So what does Apis want to do now that you are back at the living part of the forest? Sprint now? Run like the wind? Pretend like you're paranoid about Charlie coming for you? Is that the idea? Just keel over and wait? Show us the meaning of haste. Is that what we're doing? Haste, running? How is the fire spreading? You've moved faster than the fire. It seems like it isn't taking. It's not. So when I refer to the dead forest, the dead part of the forest, I'm talking about the animals there. The plants were still very much living. The plants are all alive and green, and so the forest fire hasn't taken very quickly. It's not a dry brush. It is springtime, so it's relatively wet. Everything's green. Everything's got a lot of moisture in it, so it's taking a while for the forest fire to actually dry out the surrounding plants and spread. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any kickback on the running idea, so Apis is going to run. And as Apis sets off running, I will have an athletics check from you to see how quickly you can make your way back to the dome. 11 plus your athletics of, let's say, I think it's a 4. So plenty fast enough. Plenty fast enough. You leg it through the forest. And as you're running, you're kind of looking over your shoulder. I want to see how good a performance you're going to do. This is a performance check. You are putting on the show that you are running away from Charlie. Or running away from... Hey, nat 20. Nat 20 plus 1. 21. You are performing like you've never performed before. Apis is doing the most convincing performance of their life. As you're sort of looking back over your shoulder, you're trying to make sure that you're going in the right direction. You stop and catch your breath, look over your shoulder, carry on again. And you before too long, maybe, I can't remember, maybe like an hour or so running, maybe like half an hour, I can't remember. You get back to the dome, you get back to the edge where the fire break of the dome was, And you burst through, actually. You're coming from the west, aren't you? Yeah. You burst through the... wait, never eat shredded wheat. You are coming from this direction, okay. The percentage chance that you're coming in from this direction. You are. Oh, interesting. Okay. So this time of night, early hours of the morning. Yeah. You before you come to the dome and before you come to the dome and the fire break around the dome, you first sort of stumble out of a tree line and down a bit of a cliff face. You manage to stop yourself before going over the cliff. You grab the brush on either side and stop yourself. And looking down this sort of this bit of a divot. It's not like a huge cliff. Maybe only like 40 feet or so. And it's not sheer face. It's like more like a steep hillside. Down the bottom in this this clearing is unmistakably some kind of a farm. You know that you are very close to the dome, just from your own ranger abilities and able to your Outlander background. You're able to keep an ear on where everything is. But you're looking down on what looks to be a very small pig farm. There seems to only be 2 pigs there, and out the back with these pigs, the pigs are eating from a trough at the moment. I'll have you make a nature check. Oh, 18. Good. 18 plus your nature. You're not proficient in nature. How weird. I suppose nature is more like the studied versions of that. You have plus 3 though, so 21 nature check. You are first just taken aback by the fact that there's a pig farm here near the dome that you didn't know about, and then it occurs to you, sort of in a fleeting moment, that it's weird that the pigs are eating at this time of night. Like, it's the early hours of the morning and the pigs are awake and eating from a trough. But that thought passes your mind. What do you want to do? Are they eating Dragonborn? You can't see from where you are what they're eating. They're just eating from a trough. Can we check to see if they're normal pigs? 4. Perception is plus 5, so 9. With a 9 perception check, it seems like they're normal pigs. You don't see any green on them. The dragon can turn into anything, yeah? As far as we know, it can turn into anything. We know for a fact it can turn into a pig, because we've seen a half pig. A half dragon pig. We check to see if there's farmers around somewhere. There is a building. There's a building just next to the pigsty. So it's basically just a single pigsty and a single farmhouse. And even the farmhouse is a 1-story shack. Particular smell coming from the trough. As I said, you're kind of 40 feet up a hillside, so you can't smell anything from here. Just the regular smell of a pigsty. The odds of some of the people who revolted were killed, even if they are ultimately prevailed. Maybe the pigs are eating them. It's possible. Are any lights on in the shack? There are not lights on in the shack, no. Lights in the building are out. If we stop to investigate, are we really running scared? That's a good point. We can leave it alone and carry on. Thumbs up in the chat if you just want to ignore this and carry on towards the dome. Thumbs up in the chat if you want to ignore. Thumbs down if you want to stay here and investigate in any way. I'm going to have to put this to a poll because it's not a unanimous decision in the chat here. It's a little bit hard to tell what to do. So stay here and investigate, encompassing like check if the pigs are real, check if they're eating Dragonborn or people or anything else. Check if there's check if there's anybody in the shack. Anything to do with staying here, stay here and investigate. But if you want to just keep moving and get to the dome as soon as possible. All right, 54% of Apis' mind decides that they are going to continue past the dome. You think about it. You think this is odd. I didn't know that there were pigs this close to the dome. I don't know what this is about. It's odd that they would be eating at this time of night. It doesn't matter. I've got to get to the dome. I've got to see what's happened to the villagers. The other captives could be in danger if the fight didn't go well. So you sort of back up away from the ledge a bit. You find a way down on the left, and you continue on that way. And then past it, you book it past. It's only another minute or so of running before you get to the edge of the fire break around the dome. And once you get there, you can see that there are half-dragon creatures, mostly the nocturnal half-dragon creatures around. You do see, what sort of nocturnal animals are there? Badgers, foxes, hedgehogs. You see that there's a large for a hedgehog, maybe porcupine-sized, and it does have green scales down its nose, and it's snuffling around in the dirt around near the dome as you approach. It kind of looks up at you and cocks its head, and then sort of shies away a bit. You walk across the fire break, and you find the dome intact. You know that you can't get through this dome without Luciferique opening it for you, or by pushing your way through and taking some scratching and thorny damage from pushing your way through the wall. So it's up to you. You can sort of force your way through the thorny, scratchy nature of this hedge and take some damage doing so, but you'll be inside the dome. Or you can try and get inside somehow. Call out. Do we want to call out? Shout, Luciferique! Dragonborn! Help me! Ask the insects in Draconic and then Sylvan. Feed the hedgehog a small portion of rations and rest here, waiting for an opening in the dome. Alright, so are we going to call out? Are we going to ask the insects to open the door for us? Are we going to feed the hedgehog and rest? Or are we going to try and force our way in somehow? Interesting. Lots of dissenting options for this. This is something I love about Twitch Tales. There's all the different options. Turns it into like a multi-choice choose your own ending book. 45% wanting to talk to the insects. That is not a majority. So what I do is preferential voting. I will drop that down to a 1 minute poll to choose between the top two options: talk to the insects or climb through. All right, with 62% of the vote, Apis decides to try and just find the insects and ask them, "Hey, can you let me in, Luciferique? I'm here." So you walk up to the wall, and not knowing a way in other than the way that you've been shown, either Luciferique can just open them telepathically, or somebody else can open them by getting Luciferique to do that for him. So you walk up, you search for the insects in the wall. I'm going to have you make an investigation check. That is a 9 total. You are looking for insects and you're not finding them. You spend a good 5 minutes looking through for any bugs, aphids, ladybirds, ants, crickets, grasshoppers, anything that's in this wall. You can't find them. I'm going to roll again. After 5 minutes, you keep going with your investigation looking for bugs. You get a 17 this time. This time you spend another 5 minutes looking, and with that investigation check, you are sure you should have found insects by now. You are positive. It is now conspicuous. After 10 minutes of being at this dome looking for bugs in the wall, it is conspicuously absent of insects. Over to you. What do you want to do? With that new information, what do you want to do? We're pushing through the wall now. Talk to the hedgehog, push through the wall. Did we take the pike with us? No, we didn't. We didn't want to be caught with that, right? Plus, running through the forest with a reach weapon is not easy. How far are we from the pig farm? Like a minute back that way. All right, it's still some dissent among you about what to do. Push through the wall, go back to the farm, talk to one of the half dragons, the hedgehog if we can find it, or a green dragon rat or something. We use our bedroll to push through in an attempt to make the experience less painful. I would allow you to expend your bedroll, like use it up, and you wouldn't be able to recover it. So I'd allow you to use your bedroll, use it up, in order to take half damage from the scratching, whatever. So if you want resistance to the scratching of pushing your way through the wall, then the bedroll will be gone forever, or until you get a new one, or until you mend it or something. All right, preferential voting it is again, because we got 46%, not a majority. So push through or go back to the farm. Nobody's as interested. Well, fewer of you are interested in talking to the half dragon for information. I swear there must be so many people trolling in the chat that just wait until the last few seconds and vote for the underdog, because the number of times it comes down to an exact 50-50 vote. 50% of Apis' mind wanting to push through the wall, and 50% of Apis' mind wanting to go back to the farm. That means, as usual, I don't have my coin out, so I'll have to just use a dice. As usual, we put it down to a dice roll, On an odd number, we are going to push through the wall. On an even number, we're going to go back to the farm. That is a 7. Odd number, we're going to push through the wall. So use the bedroll, yes or no? You can take half damage from pushing through the wall, but you will lose your bedroll, which will make it harder to get a full night's rest. Use the bedroll, yes. 53% of Apis deciding yes, we're going to use the bedroll. So you get out your bedroll knowing you're going to push through it, and just like with soldiers going over barbed wire, using blankets to get out of it, we unroll it, giving more space in our bag for the arrows that were stuffed in there. You get out the bedroll and you push it up against the wall, and you start to push your way through it, pushing and pushing and pushing. I'm going to have you make some strength checks to get through. Natural 1. So you push into it. That's going to be one of them. Another strength check. Natural 2. This is going to go well, so that's another one of them. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm rolling you a strength check, and that's going to decide whether or not you progress anywhere through the thing, or whether you take damage and stay where you are. Every time you take damage, I'm adding a d6 to the damage that you're taking. So you currently haven't even made progress into the wall yet. No shit! Genuinely! Natural 1, natural 2, natural 3 in a row. Oh god, I hope it's a 4. 16, okay. So you make progress into the wall finally after that much damage. You take the damage, but you get now 5 feet into the wall. Natural 6, so you take the damage and don't make progress. This is getting to the point where you're going to have to start. There's a chance you'll want to stop after this now. So I'm going to roll it now. You are 5 feet into the 10 feet wall. Holy shit, I got 3 6s and 2 5s. That's 18, that's 28 points of damage, halved to 14. 14 points of damage and you're halfway into the wall. You have 15 hit points left. So, we can do it. We can do it. Am I using the green dice? No, I'm using red dice. I'm using a set from, can't remember what this is, some D&D specific dice. Some that were sent for me. Alright, you are halfway into the wall. You've got 15 hit points left. You can continue using strength checks to push your way through. Or you can go back. If you go back, you're going to take half damage from the scratching because you've already made like a hole in it. So you can go back for half the damage, quartered because of your bedroll, or you can keep pushing in after this point. I didn't expect to have to make this poll again because I've rolled so goddamn low on your strength and so high on the damage. Are you keeping pushing, yes or no? You've got 5 feet more to push. If you roll well on your stealth check, then you make it through the next thing with only 1d6 damage. If you roll poorly, then you could make it through with 2d6 or 3d6 or 46 damage. I can't believe it took you 5 attempts to make it 5 feet into the wall. That's crazy. It sells our story more that we arrived messed up, because now you're bleeding again, now you're back to wounded. Yeah. Alright, keep pushing. 73% of Apis wants to just keep pushing. God damn, this is hard. Ow, ow, ow. And you are made aware now of why so many people said you can't leave through the wall. You can only leave if you are seriously like strong and hardy and tanky. You've been told numerous times like this wall is not to be underestimated. You can push through, but it will hurt a lot. Alright, so you keep pushing. Strength check. 11. 11 plus 1 is 12. 12 is enough. So with one more point, one more d6. A 1 this time, okay. With a 1 on your strength check, you make it the last 5 feet through, and then you halved and rounded up to 1. You get 1 point of damage further. So you're down to 14 hit points now. You're on 14 hit points out of a maximum of 56, so you are definitely bleeding, wounded. You've got some scratches and crap all over you, and your bedroll is kaput. It is tattered rags. So you're in the dome now. Looking around, here's what you see. Pitch blackness, for one thing. All of the oil lanterns that are usually up on the mezzanine and kept lit. There is specifically a person in this village called Thanalai who grinds down seeds and hemp to make oil so that they can keep the oil lanterns lit. All of the oil lanterns are out. You know that elves have dark vision. You know that dragonborn do not without their dark vision potions that they'd been getting from the alchemists of the village. It is pitch black in here. With your 60-foot dark vision, you do not see. You can kind of see up to the mezzanine floors, the base of the mezzanine treehouse level, but you can't see anything else. What do we smell? Smells normal. It smells like the usual village. It smells like there's not a lingering air of poison in here. You're not smelling blood. You're not smelling cooked food. There's nothing particular about the smell here. The temperature is normal, as it has been the last few days in here, with the dome being so thick, and it keeps out the wind, it keeps out weather from outside. There's no smell of rain or smell of wet forest. It doesn't seem hot or cold. There's no movement. Actually, let's see if you can hear things now. Let's make a perception check. Perception check. I'll have disadvantage because of the distance. A 4 and a 9. 4 plus your perception is a 5, so 9 total. With a 9 total, you can hear that there are movement sounds inside. There is the odd sound of movement, maybe creaking of wood, and you can definitely hear the rope bridges moving. People moving out over the rope bridges. So there is a sign of life, but whose life you don't know. Is there an anxious feeling like your skin crawling or being watched or something not right feeling? Nothing that you wouldn't put down to normal paranoia. There's no paranormal feeling of being watched or anything. Actually, let's make some kind of a check. 19 plus whatever it is. I feel like Arcana maybe. 22. In fact, Classic Sim, if anything, there's a sense of a removal of somebody watching you. The time you've spent in the dome, you've been hyper aware of the fact that all of the insects around the dome act as spies for Lucifreak. The guards act as, obviously, spies for Lucifreak as well. If anything, there's a lack of that feeling. Knowing now that the insects of the wall have gone for some reason. It feels like you're not being watched. Are we close to the Dragonborn hut? You kind of are. It's like you've come in kind of at 9 or 10 o'clock, and the Dragonborn hut is down at like 7 o'clock or so. So you're close-ish. You could get to it. I'll get to where it was. Does the darkness seem magical? No, the darkness seems normal, like a normal, very darkly lit dome that is blocking out all moonlight and starlight and not lit by any sources from within. It seems like a normal darkness. You can definitely still see through it with your dark vision out to 60 feet. What do people want to do? Do people want to call out? Do people want to go to where the Dragonborn's hut was? Do people want to go to the centre of the village where the rope bridge is and climb up to the mezzanine? The rope ladder, sorry. Do we want to heal with one of our health potions? You have 2 half strength healing potions and 1 full strength healing potion that you got at some point. Alright, with 53% of the vote wanting to drink the potion, Apis decides that these scratches and ow, god, this hurts. You've got all sorts of cuts and there's a real deep one on your neck that stings like a bitch. That really hurts. So you reach down into your bag and you grab the potions. Which one are we going to drink first? And then we'll see how much it heals, and we can always drink a second if we need it. Are we going to drink one of the half strength? Put a thumb up if you want to drink the full strength. Put a thumb down if you want to drink a half strength. What's our current hit points? We're on 14. 14 current hit points out of a total of 56. We're at 14, Wraith. We took 1 more point as we finished pushing our way through the wall. Alright, most people saying the half strength one, so that's clear enough in the emotes that I don't have to put it to a poll. You reach out, you bring out one of the slightly lighter coloured, like a rosé kind of a colour healing potion. You pop the top off. You can smell the vanilla just coming through. You hope that why do I keep forgetting her name? Toria. You hope that your friend Toria has done a proficient enough job that she hasn't put anything else in this potion. You dip your finger into it and rub it over the painful wounds of your neck. oh, there's a sting, but then it immediately starts to feel warm in a comforting way and starts to heal up a bit, and you're like, okay, that's a good sign. You chuck it back, and because you have used an action to do it, how I do my potions is you can either use your full action to take it, in which case you just get maximum, or you can use a bonus action to take it, like in the middle of a fight, but you have to roll for it because there's a chance that some of it's slopping down your chest or whatever. So full action to take it, 1d4 plus 1, max it out, and you get 5 hit points back. You are taken to 19 hit points. Use another ? I've never thought about what a health potion would smell and taste like. Maybe Calpol or something. They taste like vanilla in my world. They're all derived from vanilla essence and such. Because of an in-joke with a friend in the first time we were playing D&D, and he said he was talking about a light healing potion, and he said, "I just take a vanilla one." Rather than like to differentiate from taking like a greater healing potion or a superior healing potion. He said, I'll just take a vanilla one. And then I'd misunderstood him and thought that it tasted like vanilla, and then we laughed about it, and I said, that's canon now. All of my potions taste like, all my healing potions taste like vanilla. Alright, so with 69 nice % of the vote, we decide 19 hit points is fine. We're not going to use another. We're going to hold on to those ones. And move into the dome to decide what to do now. So back to the original decision of, do we go towards the hut, or do we call out, or do we go towards the climb the ladder? Most people said before go to the hut, but I'll just double check now. While we're voting on that, you can give me a thumbs up or thumbs down in the chat. Do you want to light a torch? All right. With only one person saying to light a torch, we're not going to bother. And with 57% of Apis deciding to go towards the hut, you do so. You start to move towards the hut, stealthily as you can. That's a 13 plus your stealth, that's quite a lot. And you make your way over to the hut. It doesn't take long, only like a few yards, maybe 10, 12 yards or so, before it starts to emerge on the very edge of your dark vision. You can start to see it. Let me double check. Yeah, as you push closer and closer, you can see it's definitely there. It's definitely still standing. There's no lights on inside. The door is open. The front door of it is open. There's no lights on inside though. You don't hear any movement. You don't hear any dragonborn. The front door is never usually left open because there's usually a rotating guard of 3 guards, and it unlocks from the inside. So they open it to let somebody else in, and then they change shifts. So there's always one person left in the hut usually. But with Inola being out on the hunt, there were only 2 guards here, and so they obviously had to leave the door open so that they could actually get in and out without locking themselves out of the hut. So you've heard movement earlier, yeah, up in the treetops, across the rope bridges and things. But you're not hearing any movement coming from the hut. Nobody seems to be here. Or if they are, they're asleep or unconscious or dead. Do you want to go into the hut? Give me a yes or a no in the chat. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Do you want to loot? Do you want to, well, not loot necessarily, but do you want to go inside? Do you want to investigate inside the hut? Go inside. What's the worst that can happen? All right. A lot of people saying yes. I think it's a majority. I think in fact it's a unanimous decision. All right. So Apis goes inside the hut. This is your first time inside this hut. As you climb up onto the porch, the wood creaks beneath your feet, and you slowly move forwards. Your dark vision allows you to see that inside there are 2 beds, 2 sort of military Z-bed kind of a situation. There is a chest of belongings, a chest, like at the end of each of the beds there is a chest, and they are open and empty. Inside there is also a very small sort of kitchenette, a place where one would, like a countertop and a wash basin that can be filled with water and used to wash. And then in the back corner there is a room, like it's basically one big rectangular room, but part of the back corner of it, like a quarter of the room, is taken up by a secondary room that is completely walled off, no windows, and it has a door on it that is locked. There is a padlock on the front of this door. There is nothing in the chest, nothing on the workbench, no knives. Actually, there is a knife. There is a sharp knife on the kitchenette, used like a kitchen knife. That's all you can see. Bed, 2 empty chests, and a locked door into a room at the back, and a knife on the. Are we taking the knife? Yes or no? Take the knife? Yes or no? Seems like a bunch of people saying yes. Take that knife. We have a hunting knife. It's a kitchen knife, but it'll use the same stats as a dagger or whatever. All right, so we walk over and we take that knife and flip it around, stick it into our bag alongside our arrows. Hide it where we can carry it, and yeah, we don't want to open carry it. We want to hide it where we can grab it. The door, does it open towards us or away from us? The door to the cabin, the one that you've just come through, opens into the cabin, like away from you from the outside, into it towards you now that you're inside. The door to the other room, the sort of storage room where you know that they hide all of your weapons and stuff, that opens inwards towards the secondary room, like away from you. So what now, guys? You are in the Dragonborn's hut. There is no sign of the Dragonborn. The hinges would be on the other side. Yes, yeah, that's right. Remove the bolts, leave the padlock alone. Yeah, you could do. There's a metal band across the door that has been padlocked. Like, so if you unscrew or unbolt the entire metal band, then you don't need to unlock the padlock. Knock on the door, check the ladders now. You knock lightly on the door, there's no sound, nothing moves from the other side. Can we take the bedroll? They don't have bedrolls, but you can take blankets. You can take a bedding from one of the beds. Yeah. All right. There's some people wanting to get into the room, some people wanting to leave. So I will put it to a poll. It may be seen as, if Lucifreak does come back and find that you've broken into the Dragonborn's hut and taken all of the weapons and stuff, then obviously he will. All pretenses are off at that point, and he knows what your intent is. But with 81% of the vote, Apis decides to leave it for now and go up to the village. So as you sort of look, you check it out. You look at the padlock. It looks like it's a decent padlock. It's got a little bit of rust on it, so it could be broken. But it would take a couple of hefty swings and like the right leverage. You'd need like a chisel up against it and then whack, and you'd be able to pop it, I'm sure. But it would take more than just like a swift kick. The door itself is decent wood. It's pretty hardy, sturdy wood. So you check it out. You know that you could break into it, but it would take some work, and it would it would make some noise. But you leave it for now. You head back towards the entrance to the hut, and the first thing you notice is that there is a light on up in the mezzanine now. There is an oil lantern being lit outside of the main area, the outside of where the food hall was, and then you can see in the light of that Thanalai, the one responsible for the lanterns, is now making his way along the rope bridge, having just lit that one. He makes his way across to his where the alchemy hut is, and you can see him lighting that lantern there as well. You make your way over the village floor, the grassy terrain. You don't see any sign of Dragonborn in the spilling out light down to the ground here. You see the 2 knights of Kavosna, Tauchu and the other one, have been displayed. Their bodies hanging in the centre of village, stuffed onto pikes. They're still there. Question. Let me check. Has he finished yet? Investigation check for you. Oh, nat 20. Nat 20 investigation plus 3, that's 23 for you. Something about Tauchu catches your eye as you pass. You're not sure what it was. Almost like just like something seemed off, and forces you to double glance. You're not sure what it is. You move past, and then you start to climb the ladder, and you think, actually, I think I know what it was that was off. And you turn around and you look across and you see that he has a dark tan kind of, not really a dark tan, but he's definitely got a somewhat of a tan line from about here to here that is missing. There is it's definitely a lighter patch of his skin on his left forearm, and you realise his Knight of Kavosna bracer is missing from his arm. You take that into account, and then you continue on up the ladder, and you can hear movement now up on the top of the ladder. There are hurried sounds of footsteps and some hushed voices speaking in Elvish. You get up to the top of the mezzanine outside of the dinner hall, and you see that there is basically a huddle of the elven captors in the mess hall, the eating room. They hear the footsteps coming up the ladder, and coming to the door, you see. Let's see, which one would it be? Let me pick someone at random. Let me grab my details. Treasure room, slaves. Wouldn't be the foragers or the farmers. Theneli's doing his thing. It's Alethi, let's say, one of the people who is in the sorting hut. Alethi comes to the door and sees it's you and says, "Oh, hey, Apis is here," she says in common. There's like a hushed voice. Everybody goes quiet and looks over to you. And there's a few sort of curt nods as you walk in. Looking around them, there's not a lot of injury you can see. Everybody looks frightened, stressed, and like they're in the midst of an emergency. Everybody looks like their heart's in their throat, and they're panic. They're in the middle of some panic. Everybody except for a couple of people who are kind of in charge, as it were. It seems like people that everybody else is sort of huddled around include Beladel, which is a cook, and Tisharu, two male elves who have taken charge. You ask, is everyone okay? What happened here? And there's a few eyes look to Beladel. And Beladel says, Charlie's plan was successful. Everybody kind of... I'm going to make an insight check, actually. 16 plus insight of 2. With an 18, you can kind of see that there's like a deliberate like tension as they look your way. So what do you want to do? What do you say in reply? We should show them that we know the plan. Check for lies. Their fear makes no sense if the plan succeeded. It makes perfect sense if they suspect you. So you reply, I'm on your side. Charlie still lives. Charlie's plan outside was also successful. He's escaped. There's like a visible... responsive, thank God for that. Charlie's on his way to get help. He's safe, and Inola is dead. There's like back and forths. Inola's dead. Inola's dead. There's hushed voices between them. Somebody leans down to Beladel and whispers something in Elvish, and he whispers back. The two Dragonborn here ran away. I'll get you make an insight check. Who killed Inola? He says. Tell them both we killed Inola. I'll tell them we both killed Inola. Thumbs up or thumbs down, yes or no? We tell them that we killed Inola. Interesting. Kind of on the fence here. We're gonna have to put this to a poll. Do we say we killed Inola, as in we Apis killed Inola? Do we say that Charlie killed Inola? Do we say both of us, me and Charlie, killed Inola? Or do we say doesn't matter? Alright, with 55% of the vote, Apis decides to tell them both of us killed her. There's a look of relief over a few of them as you say this. You can notice that there's about a dozen or so. Well, actually, probably because with those guys being outside, how many people are actually inside the dome? The farmers are outside. The foragers are outside. Theneli's lighting the things at the moment. So there's about half a dozen or so in here. Maybe there's Leandra, Alethi, Capona, Larrington, Beladel, Olathea, Alana, Tisharu, and Rathal is actually in here as well. So there's what was that, nine of them in here. You do notice, it is notable that Rathal is in here as well. Rathal is the the wood elf woman who is ostracized a little bit from the group. So you say we both killed her. There's a few sighs of relief. People starting to trust you a little more. The rock gnome. Nim is also in here, and there's Nim, there's Cassandra, and there's what was the rock gnome called? It's in here somewhere. Logan the rock gnome. Nim the human male. Oh, actually, Nim is not in here. Nim is not in here, but Cassandra and Logan are. So you say, where did they run? You look around their hands, you can see that none of them were in the bracer. Tao Chu's bracer is not visible. Where did they run to? There's sort of glances around, and he says, they ran off to join the fight. They weren't happy that Luciferique had abandoned them, and they thought they deserved better. They thought they could prove their worth by taking the kill. There's something that he's definitely not saying that you're picking up on. That was an insight check for you. That was a 12 total. There is something that he's not saying that you're trying to pick up on, but his face is hard to read. You say, where are the bugs? There are no bugs in the walls. None of his spies, none of his people are here. And they sort of, there's another glance, and what's their name? Which one is the alchemist? Capona, one of the alchemists. She says, "Hey, we don't know anything about the bugs being missing. They definitely weren't. They were definitely here earlier. They must have fled as well." Your insight's getting better each time I roll it. That was a 15. That one is definitely pointed. You definitely realize with that 15 insight that she is telling you the story that you need to stick by. She's kind of making it a little more obvious than he is on her expression when she says that we definitely don't know anything about the bugs missing. What do you want to say? She's falling just shy of wink wink nudge nudge. Ask them what the next step is. What's the next step of the plan? They all seem to be looking to Belladel, and then Tisharu starts to speak and Belladel stops him. Tisharu says, "The next step is," and Belladel says, "Shh, shh, shh. Sit down." He gestures to you, he gestures over the table to where Alana, the sculptor, is sitting. "Sit down." And Alana takes the hint and pushes her chair back and stands up and gives you a free chair. Do you sit? Sitting would have you surrounded by all of the elves. You sit down. As you sit down, you say, those pigs must have had a good meal recently. There's definite, sudden looks around them. And he says, "Yes, they'll be eating well tonight. But we would know nothing about that, because we can't possibly get out of this dome. How did you get in?" "I got in the hard way." And look, and you sort of gesture to your hands, and he says, "Shit. Did you leave a gap?" "I pushed my way in, yes." "Shit." And one of them says something to him in Elvish. Which one would it be? It would probably be... Oh, it would be one of the sorters. Leandra. Leandra says, "Lethram bataska iswara. Bithrum batuska shlilumadar. Ladath. Hilandro fuateth with waraktesh." And she turns and says, "It's fine. It will be obvious that you've pushed your way in and we haven't pushed our way out. It should be clear that your blood is on the it will be clear to Luciferique. He will be able to smell your blood. He will know that it was you that pushed your way in. Look, we're not sure how long it is before he comes back, so we need to let you in on the plan." And Tisharu says, "The Dragonborn are dead." And just as he says that, Belladel says, "We said that we would not even say it aloud." And Tisharu says,
it will take longer to beat around the bush than to just come straight. I trust Apis. We have no reason to lie. Apis has put their hat in the ring here. They've thrown their hat over the wall and committed themselves just like we have. There's no turning back from this. We need to stop pussyfooting around and get everything out in the open. Belladel looks like he's going to object and then nods his head. And Tisharu takes that as acceptance and says, "Listen, we've all committed ourselves. Capona and Larrington have been creating insecticides for weeks now, months, in fact." Capona corrects him. Months. They've been creating insecticides for months. We released it onto the walls earlier today. At the same time, we have been reducing the dark vision potions. We've been manipulating them. We fed them the wrong dark vision potions today, so that they would wear off in the middle of their shifts. They did so, and we had the advantage because of that. Thanalai turned out all of the lance, so we had the advantage of fighting in the dark. I've been providing people with wood carving tools, and he sort of reaches down into his cloak behind himself and brings out a chisel that looks like a decent chisel. It's pretty sharp and not got blood over it or anything. It says we had makeshift weapons. You say, "What happened to Chao Chu's bracer?" And she says, Cassandra actually speaks up, the young girl from the Knights of Govasna. She says, I told Nim about its properties, and he's tinkering with it, seeing if he can make it work. He needs to be attuned to it, but he's working on it at the moment. We're hoping he can get it done before Luciferic comes back. So where are the bodies? You ask, and everybody turns to Tisharu, who says, "Well, you see, there's no entries into the dome. I have a way out. I have used my wood carving skills to create a tunnel through the center of my tree. It leads to an entrance and exit above the dome canopy. I took the bodies through the tree and threw them down the side of the dome, and then the people on the outside." He speaks about the farmers, and then Eniren was waiting on the outside. He took the bodies and fed them to his pigs. So why no blood? Why no poison? And Rathel puts her hand up and says, "I'm pretty good with cleaning." And you remember that she is the cleaner of the group. She has prestidigitation and can clean or soil any aspect of non-organic material, and so she has gone around and cleaned up all of the blood and all of the smell of poison. She's been clearly working hard on making sure there's no trace of the fight. There's no signs of a battle, though. There's no signs of fighting, and she says, "I also have mending. I have abilities to mend things." So you did everybody get through fine? Nobody was injured? And Larrington, one of the alchemists, says there were injuries, yes, but we had a supply of potions of healing, and also potions of poison resistance that we have been accruing over the years. Yes, we've been slowly creating potions for ourselves. It seems like they're all involved in this attack somehow. They've all been putting small things together, small contributions that they were able to offer. So what's the plan from here? The plan is from here, Belladel says. The plan is from here that we stick to the same story. It is important that every one of us has the exact same story. He will be investigating. He will be interrogating. The Dragonborn were arrogant. They were furious at Luciferic. They shouted about it being the last straw. They shouted about their right to be hunting. Pakrish was the one who instigated it. He was most furious about being left behind, like Zakar. Zakar took offense to that. He shouted back that he was twice the man Pakrish was, and being left behind was an honor. Pakrish was angry and took to the walls and opened. He took to the hut, withdrew some of our weapons, and took to the walls to go out and hunt. Zakar chased after him, saying that it was foolish of him to leave in this situation, and they both left together. That is the story, and we're sticking to it. If you can remove my blood off the vine walls, I can get my weapon and hide inside the tree. Luciferique won't even know that I'm in here. It's possible. What happened with you? What's your story on the outside? How did the Dragonborn escape the dome in that story? We are hoping that Luciferique overlooks that piece of information. We are hoping that he acknowledges that they were building their own power. They had their own sway over the bugs of the walls. They managed to manipulate the walls to open a dome, and we know nothing about how it works. We don't know how he does it, so as far as we know, they can do it as well. And we're hoping that he uses that to fuel his jealousy over them. He does not wish for anyone to challenge his power, and if they have the power to manipulate the dome, it's possible that he will be angry about that. All we know is they opened the hole. How they did it, we don't know. Perception check. What are you perceptioning behind the glamour? What do you want? What do you want to see? Is there any way to get the weapons in the hut? They had the keys on them. We do have the key, but if we open that weapon hut, then our story falls apart. We've been in and we've taken back a couple of the weapons and stashed them in various places. We have a few of our weapons back. Only those that Pakrish took with him. You understand? You wanted to see if anyone seems uncomfortable or uneasy at all? Absolutely. Let's make insight check. 8 total. Yes, there's a lot of unease around you. It seems like a lot of them aren't comfortable with this position that they're in, but they're in it now, and everybody's committed. There was a hedgehog outside the dome. Would they have seen things? He says it's possible that some of his half creatures would have seen things. That's where the foragers come in. Illitor, Thanala, and Urva have been for a while now deterring the half dragons from coming near the farm. Enerin and Jane, the farmers, they've been working to deter the creatures around the farm under the pretense that it's dangerous for their crops and it's dangerous for keeping them alive. And Luciferique has agreed that he will try and keep his army away from the farms. As such, we have hopefully not been seen by any of the half dragons. What about the spies of the forest, the birds and the bees and the trees and all of that? He says, we had to take our chances with it. At this point, Thanalai walks back in, having relit all of the oil lanterns. So we start to exposition dump on them, tell them everything of what happened. Are we keeping anything back, or are we telling them everything and how it happened, how it went down? Could we come up with a second story with more information to pretend to break under interrogation? Like, could they have mentioned going back to his father? Oh yeah, that's good. Good idea, Adria. You mentioned, listen, no offense is meant by this, but some of you will not hold up to interrogation. We need a secondary story that you can give him after he interrogates you. You can remember a piece of information about it. Belladel says he doesn't take well to us lying. If one of us breaks under interrogation, it's a confession that we were lying in the first place. He'll kill us. I don't think he'll kill you. Excuse me if I don't take the advice of a dwarf over what this slaver that has enslaved me and my family for 3 years now, how he will behave. Well, I'm sorry, Belladel, I don't want to cause you offence, but I have studied dragons for many years, not just 3. I've studied dragons my whole goddamn life. I've studied dragons. I know about them. And it's not exactly true. You have only studied dragons since the one attacked your family about 3 years ago. But you do know a lot more about dragons than he does. See, look, I know I've been up close to him. I know how he acts. If he's lost 3 of his guards, his only 3 guards, then he won't kill all of you just randomly. He'll need you alive. He'll either flee or he'll take you with him as a treasure. You're not worth anything to him dead. If you become a threat to him, then he'll kill you. But he won't kill you if you're just lying to him. If anything, he'll leave. They would have the birds and bees and things would have seen us come into the dome, so there's no hiding that. Tell them everything. 100% exposition dump. Tell them everything. They have enough to remember to keep their own story straight. Let's give them plausible deniability. Tell them the story we're going to tell Lucy about Inola. Good point, Creative Garden. Good point. Have you got any healing potions left? We've got them pretty messed up. Let me see. Let me see if they do. Let me roll a... they do not. No. I'm afraid they're out. Capona says, I'm sorry, we're all out. We weren't able to stockpile too many because the Dragonborn never appreciated us having too many on hand for this exact reason. And so we've used the ones we had to get us all back up into tip-top shape. I can't risk any sign that any of us were ever in a scuffle. Would you take me more seriously if my ears were pointy? And if you stood a little higher from the ground, he says. I can make up stories if they want to, but we can't lie to save our dang lives, and making things up is lying. Alright, so most people wanting to just tell them 100% the truth, but Creative Garden had a good point that if we tell them the truth, then that's another thing they have to lie about. Tell them the 100% truth, yes or no. What's the end game here? Are we just trading water waiting for reinforcements? Maybe. You are knackered. If the dragon comes back and it starts a fight now, there's a very good chance you'll die. You have no spells, no inspiration, no lucky horseshoe, no rerolls. You're on 19 of 56 hit points. If the dragon comes back and starts a fight, it's almost guaranteed you will die, as will a lot of the members, if not all of them, in the village. So treading water till you can have a long rest, at the very least, is probably a good idea. It's up to you though. Tell them 100% truth. 68% of you want to not tell them everything. So they used coded language to tell you things, so you do the same in return. Yes, you tell them. So here's what happened with me. I went out hunting, managed to find Charlie. He was already in a fight with Inola. She was not doing well. He seemed to have her under some kind of spell, and he attacked her. He managed to kill her. As he killed her, I shot at him and wasn't able to take him down. He set fire. He tried to set me on fire. He caught the trees around me. He chased me out of there, and I ran for my life. As far as I know, Inola didn't make it. Okay. We need to rest and think. I don't know when Luciferique will be back. We just told them Napus and Charlie killed Inola together, but not now. Yeah, like you told them the truth to begin with, but when it comes to telling them the details of the truth, you have told them, and you've done so in the way of the same way that they did. You were like, wink, wink, here's what happened with me. Wink, wink. And they are smart enough to understand what just happened. Agreed. Understood. Right. Cassandra, sit down. And he pulls Cassandra over. What happened here? What happened tonight? She says, Oh, nice, Cassandra. Well done. She says, I don't know. Charlie was hunted, and then they left, and left Pakrish and the two Dragonborn here, and they started shouting about something. They were shouting in Draconic. I couldn't hear all of it. I heard words of unfair and it's my right, and then they one of them went off to the hut and came out with some weapons and then left. He interrogates her. He kind of puts her through the third degrees. He's like putting her under a trial to try and make sure that she doesn't crack, and then he does the same again. Thanalai, sit down. What happened here? I'm not sure. It was all a little confusing. The Dragonborn just left. I think they went to join the fight. They were wanting to. No. You know they went to join the fight, but I didn't hear. No, you know they went to join the fight. They felt like Lucifreak was doing them wrong, and they deserved to be there. It was their right. They were angry at Lucifreak. We need to make sure that he knows that they were challenging his authority. That's the important thing. They were challenging his authority. They disobeyed his direct command and went to fight, knowingly. Right, okay. He drills them on it a little more. He sits down. Larrington and Coppola, Belladell's really going through it with each of them in turn, making sure that everybody's got their story straight. What are the rest of you doing? What is Apis doing? I'm very concerned with that big hole in the story to the elves. Inola already being in a fight with Charlie doesn't make sense when Lucifreak sent us into the Undead Woods with her. How do we explain getting separated? You can say that she was just ahead of you, and then you heard the fight kick off. He ambushed her. She was in a fight. You caught up and continued the thing there. Being with her doesn't mean you're like side by side the whole way. Like you could have been like 20 feet apart, like searching different parts of the forest, and then you heard an ambush. Oh shit, what's happened? And you run over to her, and there you go. Separated by a wall of earth. There you go. We can come up with something. So is there anything else you want to talk about? Do? Rest? Just go get a sleep immediately? Start to doze? Alright, it is the early hours of the morning. Any of you able to mend my bedroll so I can get a proper rest? Rathal says, I can, and Belladell says, no, leave it. It's important that he sees that you pushed your way in properly. So it's important that he knows that nobody has left this dome. If the only hole into the dome is the one that you've pushed your way in, it's important that we leave that as is. You can sleep on the cushions. Okay. You can either go down to the hut and sleep in a bed, or get the bedding from the hut, or you can just go into the meditation hall, which has got a lot of cushions around, and just try and sleep on the cushions. And she was behind us, and we had to turn back because we heard her get ambushed behind us. Well, there you go. Then then we're telling the truth. She was behind us. We heard her get ambushed, and we turned back to see her being attacked. And then, blah blah blah. Yeah, good idea, Sparrow. Meditation hall. Don't go to the hut. All right. As you head out of the hut, you almost bump into Nim, who is a human artificer coming along the walkway with you, and he almost bumps into you, and then immediately tries to hide something behind his back. And you say, "It's okay, I know about it. I'm on your side. Charlie has escaped. Inola is dead. We need to rest, get our stories straight before the morning." He says, "Well, I got it to work," and he sticks his head in the hut and says, "It's working. I'm going to put it back on him now." And then he heads down the rope ladder very quickly, and you can see him sort of reaching up to place it back on Tauchu's forearm, and starts lacing it back up again. Gnome artificer? No, he was a human. The gnome was a jeweler. Logan, I think. And he Logan was in the meeting hall. He's one of the people getting drilled by Belladell. What does the bracer do? The bracer of the Knight of Kvosna is an insignia that signifies that you're part of that faction, faction of law enforcers. And when you're attuned to it, you can press the bracer, and it will alert other knights in the area. Anyone who is attuned to a bracer of their own, any other knights in the area in the particular radius of the bracer, will be alerted to the fact that you need help. It's like an old-fashioned police whistle, as a way of like alerting the other policemen, like, "Hey, I need help." And so you start out with a relatively small radius on your bracer, and then it gets larger and larger, so that Tauchus, who was a lion, I think he was a lion class of the Knights of Kvosna, he should have a relatively large radius, and hopefully any of the Knights of Kvosna who are out as part of the rescue party, have been alerted to your presence, and they will know the direction and distance to your presence. It's a life alert, yes. So Nim reattaches the bracer on. You head to the sleeping hut, and then just as you're sort of putting some cushions together and starting to lie down, you hear a sound that you're not too happy to hear. The sound of a tearing open vegetative dome above you. And then the sounds of something very large swooping in, and a yelling of, "What the hell is happening here?" And that is where we're going to leave it, as Lucifreak returns to the dome before you manage to get your long rest. The early hours of the morning, Lucifreak returns, and next time we will have to decide how we face him and what we say. Thank you for joining me, everybody. I will see you next time. Bye. Whoa, look at the names of all these cool people supporting me. If you want to see your name here, check out my Patreon. There's a lot of cool perks on there for you. You'll enjoy it.